I admire the way you broke the British power, but I have a dream that one day you'll take a shower. Like the H in your name, you ought to remain silent.
Like other countries, ours will have its problems. But they will be ours, not yours.
How do you propose to make them yours? You don't think we're just going to walk out of India?
Yes. In the end, you will walk out. Because 100,000 Englishmen simply cannot control 350 million Indians if those Indians refuse to cooperate.
First of all, it was only some thousands of Indians who followed Gandhi on his march to the sea to get salt against the law of the oppressive British. It was like, what, 1% of India's population that followed him? And of that 1%, how many would have actually lost their lives for the cause of replacing British tyranny with Indian tyranny? Not the majority. So it's just ideal talk when he says Indians will unite against the British. They were never united. Never in all of India's history has India been united. Never. So, even when the British united them all politically under one flag, even then there were always divisions, religious and otherwise. There were always collaborators of Indians working with the British who were against Gandhi. But you hear only about the rebels, as if all Indians were against the British. Some found it beneficial to side with the oppressors.
So since the mid-19th century, the British had placed taxes on salt, and since salt, in addition to making food more delicious, is necessary to live, Gandhi saw these laws as a perfect example of how British despotism affected all Indians. Gandhi announced that he and a small group planned to march from his home in Ahmedabad to the coast in order to harvest salt. The march took almost 2 months and quickly gathered media attention from around the world, and the British Raj in India was forced to choose between arresting Gandhi for breaking a British law or else allowing him to break the law because he was harvesting salt illegally. Millions of Indians were inspired by Gandhi's challenge to British rule and began their own protests against the salt law. As civil disobedience spread across India, the British began to arrest people, and the international media focused even more on the protests, and popular opinion began to see British rule as unjust. By refusing to meet violent British rule with violence of his own and highlighting the injustice of British rule, Gandhi was able to use nonviolence as an effective tool in undermining the colonial regime.
That's nonsense. Crash course history, I hate it because it's liberal atheist propaganda. In this case, it takes out of context because the real reason that the British Empire let go of India and many other territories was that it was no longer able to maintain them because it was bankrupt by Hitler. Hitler is the true liberator of India, and he didn't have to intend to be so in order to be so. He dropped more than 18,000 bombs on London. He was beating the shit out of the British directly. He was causing effective, real damage to the British Empire, as opposed to Gandhi, who was starving himself as if, while the British were eating like gluttons, Gandhi was starving himself and they didn't even think about him. They're like, oh, there's a crazy hippie over there doing crazy things. Yeah, that's funny. That's real funny. Gandhi was a gnat. Hitler was a real liberator of India. The reason that governments like the United States teach people to believe that nonviolence, Gandhi's way, is the way to change governments is that they're afraid of the people. They don't want the people to know that violence is the way to change governments. Am I condoning of violence? Not necessarily, because I'm against many revolutionaries such as communists. Also, a Christian like me has to submit to the authorities. If my authorities are communist, atheist shitheads, I submit unless their will contradicts God's will, in which case I have to submit to the greater authority. But so, Gandhi is a useful icon fraud because it cripples people into not overthrowing their government. That's why governments teach him as a role model, because he's an example not to follow if you want to change a government. So I think the Latin for this is cui bono, who benefits. The governments who teach the lie benefit because they can preserve themselves from the mob. And Thanks to Hitler, Britain got into debt of over 20 billion pounds, mostly to the United States, which is one of the reasons the United States soared, by preying on the British, waiting for them to need the US's help, and for the US to step in after the Russians had already done much of the work, absorbing most of the blows. That's when the vulture US, the vulture should be its symbol, not the eagle. That's when the vulture US swooped in to take credit for saving the world from Nazis, even though it later imported them in Operation Paperclip. That's when the US stepped in, but I'm digressing. This is about Gandhi being overrated.
There are many causes I would die for. There is not a single cause I would kill for.
So, Gandhi was a cuck who would let people rape his wife. He wouldn't kill them to stop them. He would try diplomacy with the rapist. The rapist wouldn't listen to him. And then Gandhi's wife would be suffering and crying, saying, "Help me, Gandhi, help me. Take the gun over there. It's full of ammo. Shoot the guy, stop him." Gandhi's like, "No, let me try to tickle him. It will be very funny. I will tickle him away from you. Oh no, it's too late. He already come inside." Gandhi was a racist. Here in Ghana, the Africans are taking down a statue of Gandhi after they found out he belittled black people. Gandhi is extremely overrated. The world is the problem. The atomic bomb is the answer. Boom, mega boom. Let's consider why Indians, not all of them, but many Indians, believe that Gandhi saved India, because it means an Indian saved India, and that strokes the ego of blind patriot Indians, who are many, many people. Because, you know, the same Indians who say they beat Alexander, they want to believe they could beat the British too. But they didn't beat Alexander, and they didn't beat the British. I plan a video on their claim about Alexander later. No, you did not save yourselves, India. Europeans saved you from Europeans.